I don't know what it means to be a Jew. I'm in my first 24 hours.
Why do you think the queer community has been uniquely susceptible?
There is a very real, alive anti-Semitism happening in the LGBT community right now.
Where do we start?
So I took on the name Jonah in my early 20s before I transitioned.
Good name.
If you write about Israel and you don't follow the boycott, we will destroy your careers.
What up, what up, what up? Welcome to a very special and timely episode of the show, including 30-minute mentions. We've done like 80-something episodes of this thing, so I'm really always looking for unique stories to bring y'all, and today's certainly fits the bill. My guest today contains multitudes. She's a trailblazing transgender activist who's broken ground as a writer and director for some of Hollywood's biggest TV shows. She's also a brilliant musician who's toured with Sia, rocked out with Broadway's best, and was the first openly trans woman to perform at Carnegie Hall. But none of that is the reason she's here today. After years of searching, studying, and circling the Jewish people from the outside, she became an official member of the tribe last night. That's right, in a Being Jewish First, we're going to find out what it feels like to be a Jew for less than 24 hours, during the most trying time to be a Jew perhaps in American history. From one Yona to another, please join me in welcoming the new Jew, Our Lady J.
Thank you very much.
It's so great to have you here on such an exciting morning.
It's really exciting. I normally would come with a blowout if I'm on camera, but I came with my Mikvah hair.
Which looks fabulous.
It's fresh from the Mikvah.
Tell me how you're feeling today. Like, how did you wake up this morning?
I woke up tired. I had one of the most emotional days of my life and most joyful days and joyful celebrations of my life. I don't want to say it was my happiest day ever, but it might have been my happiest day ever.
That's amazing. Can you take us through yesterday? Like, what was yesterday for you?
Woke up early. Took off all the nail polish, all of the jewelry, got ready for the mikvah. I had been building to this moment for 12 years. I started my conversion 12 years ago, got a little distracted.
Okay, yeah.
Came back to it a couple years ago. And so everything was really leading up to this moment, and I wasn't sure what to expect. But in that lead up came an even bigger release. And we went through the trial.
The beit din?
The beit din.
Okay. Who were your three rabbis?
My Rabbi Iggy, who I believe you know, is my sponsoring rabbi.
Beit Shuvah.
From Beit Shuvah.
Right, which we'll talk a little bit about later.
Love Beit Shuvah. So he's my sponsoring rabbi. Amazing. And then the associate there, Rabbi Jade, was our second rabbi. Our third rabbi was Rabbi Janice, who was my teacher for my Intro to Judaism classes.
Amazing.
It was a special group that felt I could just be honest with about my intentions and what brought me here and what I hope to bring to the tribe.
What did they ask you?
Iggy gave me a few questions to look at, so I wrote a piece based on one of the questions. I sent like 4 drafts out. I like draft number 8. Like that's the shooting script for me.
Tell me you're a professional writer without telling me you're a professional writer.
To see it on the page for the first time, I had never written about my Judaism. I've written Jewish characters before,
right,
and I've written about my transness before, but I've never written about my Judaism. So I chose to write about a scripture, Isaiah 56.
Enlighten me.
It was the welcoming of the eunuchs into the temple, along with welcoming of foreigners and converts. So I am intersex, which means that I was born with both male and female traits. I didn't know I was intersex until after I transitioned. My transition was something I intuited, and many years later was so happy to find out that actually this is my body. So I have partial androgen insensitivity syndrome, is what it's called.
Okay.
In biblical times, I would have been called a eunuch. So Isaiah welcomed the eunuchs into the temple in Isaiah 56. And there's a beautiful scripture that says, don't let the eunuchs say, I am a dry tree, meaning I can't reproduce, I have nothing to give to the tribe. For the eunuchs who follow my commandments, I will welcome you into my temple. I will give you a name that is eternal and that is better than sons and daughters. I don't want to say that trans is better than cis people, but it's in the scripture.
Amazing. What was the prompt that you were given to then write this script? You said the rabbi gave you a question.
The question was, what do the texts mean to you? And how has that guided your journey? I grew up in my family is ex-Mennonite, which is like a cousin of the Amish.
Right.
But ex-Old Order Mennonite, which is the horse and buggies, the prayer shawl, not the prayer shawls, I'm going to call it a kippah. It's not a kippah. That's my religion.
Yeah.
They wear head coverings. And so I grew up in a very religious environment. And we focused on the New Testament, though.
Right.
I learned in my Intro to Judaism class, it's not called the Old Testament.
We just call it the Bible.
The Bible.
Yeah.
The Tanakh.
Yeah.
So scripture was something that I was really familiar with as a child and something I went to quite often. One of my first memories growing up was putting on praise music as like a toddler. Like I was probably 4 years old. And music was a big, important part of my life. And I found so much release in connecting to God until there was a disconnect with homophobia, transphobia. I grew up, so I was born in 1978. So my coming of age happened during the AIDS crisis. And the church really turned on queer people and used that as a moment to galvanize voters and build power and all those things that are happening right now in Judaism.
Right.
Against Jews, that happened against queer people in my childhood.
Did that sever your spirituality and relationship with God as well, or just with sort of the organized religious piece of it?
I thought it did. I didn't realize that I was wrestling with God that whole time. I really rebuked what I thought was God.
Sure.
I thought I was being punished. I thought God was a punishing God. I didn't want to have anything to do with that. We were pointed to Leviticus and, those verses that condemn homosexuality. Nobody pointed me to Isaiah 56, where they said, actually, it's been a couple hundred years.
Right. Come on in.
Yeah. Progress. Judaism is all about progress. And even in the Tanakh, in that short period of time, relatively short period of time, where we went from Moses to the prophets, there was progress. And so that scripture in my conversion, when I set out to really study this seriously for the second time, I said to myself, I'm only going to do this if I can find something that invites me in who I am, that I don't have to leave myself at the door.
Right.
Spiritually, religiously. I know there are atheist Jews, and that's something a lot of people don't understand who are outside of Judaism. How does that work?
Right.
But for me, I'm not an atheist Jew. I am a religious Jew. And that's, I think, the first time I've said that.
How'd that feel?
Amazing.
That's great.
Really amazing.
It's so nice.
I'm going to try not to cry today.
Oh.
So that was the welcoming into the texts for me that allowed me to kind of trust more and give myself to the process and listen more and be more teachable.
Fantastic. Okay, so you go in front of the rabbis yesterday. Did you read your piece?
No, they had it printed out.
Okay.
I sent them another draft right before with spell check.
Okay, right until the last second. And then what? Then what happens?
They just asked me about it, and they asked me about my name. So I was born Justin.
Okay.
I was the only non-biblical name in my house.
Interesting.
And so I thought that all of my struggles and all that wrestling with God had something to do with my name, that I was cursed in some way. So I took on the name Jonah in my early 20s before I transitioned.
Good name.
I like the name Jonah. It's a good story.
Yeah.
I wasn't really thinking about the second part of the story where he gets swallowed by the whale.
Which part were you
thinking of the part where he runs away from God.
That you related to.
I was like, yes, I'm into that.
And like the real Jonah, there is no running from God.
There's no running. You get brought right back. So all of that wrestling and those years of struggling with scripture and struggling with my identity and how does that fit in with my spirituality, that to me was the swallowing of the whale. I've been swallowed many times by this whale and puked up on many shores. And now I'm beginning to be grateful for that. and to see that as part of the journey. When I changed my name to Jonah and then I transitioned, this was over 20 years ago I transitioned, and at the time it was known that you would change your name to a more female name.
Okay.
It was easier for people to change pronouns and all of that. So I didn't want to change it. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, so I went by Lady J. There was this fabulous trans woman named the Lady Chablis. She was the first autobiography of a trans person that I read. There's a musical coming out about her
called
Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil.
Oh, that's about her?
Oh. It's about the Lady
I know there's a book, there's a film.
So she was a legend and a big inspiration. So I know I wanted the lady, and then I thought a religious nod to that, Our Lady, would be cheeky and also a kind of a middle finger to religion at the time. It was a very rebellious move. And so I took on Our Lady J for Jonah. I ended up changing that legally to Jonah. But then when I found out that Yona was a gender-neutral name, and Jonah was just the English translation of Yona, that became my Hebrew name. And so my rabbi brought my parents into my renaming and suggested I go to them and ask them how they would feel renaming me as my real name. They didn't get a chance to rename me when I transitioned. And so they loved the name Yona, and that's what it is today.
That's amazing. Were they here at all, physically present for any of this?
They weren't able to be here. My mom was struggling with some health issues. So
sorry.
They will be there for the bat mitzvah in New York. I'm not sure when that is.
But that's the plan.
That's the plan.
Why New York?
I live in New York part-time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great. And have you started studying for your bat mitzvah?
No.
No, but you will.
I want to pick the scripture. I want to pick the Torah portion that means the most and kind of base the date on that and then work backwards from there.
Amazing. Okay, so you speak about your piece in front of the rabbis, and then is it into the mikvah?
There are a lot of questions.
A lot of questions. What kind of questions?
Things like what are you looking forward to bringing to the tribe? What are you afraid of? What don't you agree with? What are you still wrestling with?
They're stealing all my questions.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'd love to hear
you
some
might
of the
be
answers.
good at a beit din then.
What are you afraid of? I mean, what are the reservations you still have? Obviously, you had some reservations. It took you 12 years.
Yeah.
Sort of when I was prepping for this and thinking about it, it was sort of like a romance, right? You had the initial meeting. There's a crush there. There's interest, and then it wasn't the right time, but you danced around each other until finally brought you back. So what are those reservations that maybe you are still holding on to, and what were some that you had that you've been able to resolve or at least accept?
Coming from a community where there were no Jews, but a respect for Jews and a respect for holiness, people of the word, I didn't have conscious anti-Semitism. I heard in the church, and I believe it was my mother. I talked to my mom about this. She said, I don't remember saying that, but sure. But I asked her about who the Jews were. And she said, well, they're God's chosen people, which is why they don't need Jesus, but you need Jesus. And so all I heard was, there's a way to not need Jesus. Let me see what that's about. Of course, that is a very... It was a really sweet way of showing a child how to respect other religions without trying to convert other religions. And then, of course, learning about what the chosen people means in Judaism is completely different than what I think a lot of Christians think it means. A friend of mine told me it's like being chosen to do the dishes.
Right. On this show, I've called it latrine duty.
There you go. So I had unconscious anti-Semitism that I didn't realize that I had. And a lot of that is just like social systemic conspiracy theories almost. I didn't realize how every conspiracy theory basically leads to the Jews. But if you follow the trail, that's where it goes.
Yeah.
And in the queer community, there's a lot of they are hurting us. They are doing this to us, this to our community. And I started asking my queer friends, who is they? Can we not say they? Can you, if you're talking about a group of people, who are you talking about? Are you talking about Republicans? Are you talking about MAGA? And often they can't say who they is.
Can't say because they don't actually know, or because they don't want to say Jew?
They don't know.
Oh, they don't even know who they mean.
It's this idea that there's someone back here who's manipulating you.
It couldn't be the real world. It's just there has to be some nefarious force.
Yes. There's obviously oppression in our world, and we feel it coming from all over the place. And I think it's a lot more comfortable to never name that oppression, to just see it as this force that's behind us.
The boogeyman.
The boogeyman.
Right.
And I didn't realize that a lot of that had to do with anti-Semitism, a lot of this idea of who's controlling the world, who owns all the banks, who's controlling show business. These things are talked about often in queer spaces, but it's never named as Jews. And it wasn't until after October 7th where people started naming it as Israel. And then it got to the Jews really fast.
Right, sure.
So I had a lot of unconscious anti-Semitism that was keeping me from leaning in. And once I studied the life of Magnus Hirschfeld,
Who's Magnus Hirschfeld?
He was Dr. Magnus Hirschfeld, actually.
Okay.
Invented trans medicine.
Okay.
And coined the term trans.
Oh, wow.
In Berlin in 1909, he had an institute called the Institute of Sex. And it was the first LGBT center. It's what Planned Parenthood was based on. It was a sexual wellness center that studied endocrinology, studied the different intersex conditions, the variations of gender, sexuality, cross-dressing, all of that.
Did the Transparent musical go there in like the dream? Is that this where it went?
I didn't see the musical.
Oh, you didn't see it?
I was on everything up until the musical.
Okay.
So that was the first time I heard about Hirschfeld. And then when I learned about everything that he represented in Germany, in Weimar Germany, and how Hitler actually used Hirschfeld as an example of the sneaky Jew, the Jew who's out to hurt your children, the doctor who is doing nefarious things behind the scene, I began to understand anti-Semitism coming from a place that was not just the Holocaust, because this was many years before the Holocaust. How did it build up to the Holocaust? And not being able to trust doctors, the system,
right?
Because they were all Jews. I had a lot of reservations medically about my own transition. And this idea that you just can't trust medicine. And then how I realized that that was the same message that was being put out at that same time against Hirschfeld. So there was really an intersection of transphobia, homophobia, and anti-Semitism that was happening at that time. That began the unraveling that got me more curious. Well, where does that come from? Why weren't Jewish doctors trusted? Why weren't they allowed to study until Hirschfeld's father was of the first generation that was actually allowed to go to school?
Right.
And then why weren't they allowed to own property? Oh, that's why they became bankers. They weren't allowed to own anything.
Right.
So I just followed that trail backwards, and then you get to the Crusades, and you get to the blood libel. And so this really ancient anti-Semitism that is really baked into our culture, I had never questioned before. So once I undid that and said, well, there's a map there to where how that got into me and how that got all around me. So in the ways that we hopefully in the Jewish community have gone and dissected our unconscious bias around race, around homophobia, around transphobia, I, as a non-Jew, dissected my anti-Semitism and tried to put all of that out onto the table. And once it was there, it just kind of happened naturally, like water. My draw towards the scriptures and towards God became very strong.
What methodology did you use to go down this historical rabbit hole? I mean, were you at the library? Were you ChatGPTing? Were you speaking to professors? I mean, you did some like serious study.
It was pre-ChatGPT.
Yeah.
This was around 2019, and then the pandemic happened. So
You had time?
I had a lot of time. I built a camper van. I crossed country.
Whoa.
I lived out in nature for months on end and just kind of got to know myself in a new way.
Wow. That's powerful.
It was wonderful, actually.
Yeah.
Really tough time for all of us. But at the end of the day, I was also able to relate to like just wandering in the wilderness and what does that mean? How do we get to know ourselves? How do we get to know our relationship with God, with nature? And in that, I did a lot of reading as well. I had some access to a library in Berlin, the Hirschfeld Archives.
Oh, cool.
Because I wrote a pilot about Hirschfeld. So all this happened for work. And the pilot is currently being shopped around, so I can't say too much about it. I had the top researchers were on the payroll to work on this pilot.
Amazing.
I got to hold some of the books that weren't burned. The Nazis had looted Hirschfeld's library in 1933 and moved all the books to the book burning. So all of the research on trans medicine was destroyed in the book burning. However, some Nazis who kept souvenirs. And over the years, they've been able to find these souvenirs popping up in auctions. And so the Hirschfeld Archive has bought back about a stack of books about this wide compared to there was rooms and rooms of books that were burned.
Okay, so I feel like this conversation it's turning into like a in media res kind of pilot where we like started at your thing and then we're like jumping around in flashbacks and stuff. So I'm going to bring us back to the conversion. Okay, so you field these questions. Mm-hmm. How are you fielding these questions?
I've gotten to know my rabbis really well, so it just felt like having a conversation with friends, even though it is a trial. It's a trial of judgment. That is what beit means. It is a practice of Jewish law, but there was spirit there and really an intimacy and a trust there that had already been built. So we got through the questions. We talked about my name, my relationship with my family, what I'm afraid of, and what I hope to contribute. And
let's go to that one. What do you hope to contribute?
I think it depends on where I'm at in life and what the tribe needs. Right now, I hope to contribute my voice, which is why I'm here. I initially did not want to do your podcast so soon. It's a dream of mine to do all the things.
Yeah.
And you're one of the things.
Glad I want to make the list.
One of the top of the list. But I felt coming in so soon, oh God, I don't know. I don't know what it means to be a Jew. I'm in my first 24 hours.
I know, but it's so cool. It's like such a unique opportunity.
Thank you.
So thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
Well, saying yes is a big part of what I want to do in showing up for the tribe right now. I feel like I have a unique insight into the trans community and into the queer community. People not knowing I was converting, I've heard a lot of interesting things said about Jews.
I can imagine.
And there is a very real, alive anti-Semitism happening in the LGBT community right now that is not being addressed and is being fostered, and it's growing. And that really worries me.
Yeah.
So one of the things I hope I can contribute is to hold up a mirror so that we can address the issue in a compassionate way without pointing fingers, but to understand why we're allowing this anti-Semitism to poison the LGBT community right now, and hopefully get us in a better place where we can be allies again.
Sounds amazing. What's a step that you or we or anyone can take towards that repair? Because as you said, I mean, it seems to be really extreme. I know every sort of mainstream Jew within the LGBTQ community that I am associated with is having a terrible time of it for the last 2 years and feels really unwelcome and hostile in what they have always felt to be their community. So, I mean, what's a strategy? Like, where do we start?
I think starting at the facts is a good place, and looking at history. You can tell I'm a history buff.
Yeah.
as a writer, it's my favorite thing about writing is research, and getting to know character for me is getting to understand history and where we come from. One of the things a lot of people don't understand is this definition of Zionism,
right,
and what that means. Yeah. I got mini canceled a couple months ago when I posted a post just defining Zionism as a belief in Israel, that Israel has a right to exist as a Jewish state. Like, I think that's the simplest version of it for me.
Yeah.
And then I pointed out, I didn't even talk about my own opinions or feelings or experience with Israel, but I just pointed out historically how queer icons and the people who really established the queer community were all Zionists.
I want to read some of the quotes from this post. Zionism is not a dirty word. It is the belief in Israel's right to exist as a Jewish state. Any definition of Zionism that aligns it with oppression or imperialism is a strategic attempt to undermine Jewish self-determination. Very well said, very clear.
Thank you.
And then I would imagine the part that maybe you got the most pushback on was when you said that anti-Zionism erases LGBTQ history. What did you mean by that?
If we can't acknowledge how the founders of our queer community and the founders of everything that we've benefited from trans medicine to HIV/AIDS research, that went hand in hand with people who supported Israel, and that the people who support Israel are not evil, genocidal maniacs. I think that breaks down a lot of the identity that some queer people are holding on to, that anti-Zionism is anti-racism, or anti-Zionism is stopping any sort of oppression, when in fact anti-Zionism itself, I don't want to say is based in racism, but you've talked about this a lot,
It's a hate movement.
Yes. It's not a peace movement.
It's for sure.
It's not a peace movement. And there are a lot of good people and a lot of friends of mine who have played into anti-Zionism without realizing what the facts are. And so I don't think that everyone who identifies as an anti-Zionist has hate in their heart. I want to encourage us to look at the facts of history, of queer history, and understand why Magnus Hirschfeld was a Zionist, and understand why the state of Israel needed to be there and still needs to be there.
What was the nature of the response to this post? How much negative, how much positive, and of the negative, what were they dinging you for?
Can I talk about how I got there?
Yeah, please.
Because I think it'll explain my approach. So we went to Israel 10 years ago on Transparent. We wrote a whole season about Israel. Every season we had a different holiday. And season 4, someone said, well, let's talk about Aliyah. Let's talk about Israel. And one of our assistants, I believe, pointed BDS in our direction. And so in 2016, BDS came to the Transparent Writers Room via some people who worked on the show and said, if you write about Israel or go to Israel and you don't follow the boycott and you don't observe the boycott, we will destroy your careers. And it was a very plain and simple threat.
And these were people working on the show or at the network or outside of that?
Not at the network.
Okay.
But it was coming from a few places. One person very excitedly told me that he was part of getting us to do the right thing. There was like a pride that BDS got to the most Jewish show on television. That's what it was called at the time.
Mm-hmm.
None of us really understood what this was about. BDS was only 10 years at the time, 10 years old, and it's now, I think they just celebrated their 20 year.
Happy birthday.
I didn't know what it was about. I knew in the community that Israel was a contentious subject, but it wasn't center stage like it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
We were told that it was an anti-racist movement, and naturally we wanted to listen up and do the right thing. And so we brought in a lot of advisors. And at this point, this is the golden age of television. We had money to spend, so we hired all the people, bought all the books, read all the things from the point of view of criticizing Israel. So we wrote a very critical season of Transparent on season 4. I haven't watched it since, so I don't know how far we went. But I remember the conversations that were had behind the scene.
The creator, showrunner, is Jewish.
Yeah.
But did or did not have an opinion on this.
None of us really were sure what was happening. So we said, teach us. We want to do the right thing. So we ended up not filming in Israel to observe the boycott. And at the end of the day, got a lot of positive feedback from anti-Zionists. And we felt really proud of what we had written. It wasn't until I was researching for another show that I read that German courts had taken BDS to court and proved that they were an anti-Semitic organization. And when I read oh yeah, that's what makes it an anti-Semitic organization, I was just shocked that my writing could have been informed by anti-Semitism without me knowing it. And so I went back and I read a lot more. What didn't I learn from the other side? What didn't I learn from the Zionist perspective? And there was a lot that was being withheld.
Sure.
There's a reason why people don't want people to learn, right? And we're not allowed to question that right now, socially. Don't look at it.
If you engage all sides of it, it's pretty hard to come out on the anti-Zionist side.
Yeah, it really is. It's understandable to see how complicated it is and to want to say, I don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
That is a hot mess. Don't ask me about Israel. I understand that perspective.
Yeah.
My friends were reaching out, trying to teach me. And I remember one really difficult phone call that I had was I heard someone was talking smack about me, someone I've known for years, over this. And so I just texted her. I said, you can call me, talk to me. And she said, I feel like you haven't been vocal enough for Palestinian suffering. I said, I wrote an entire season of television about Palestinian suffering. Get to know my catalog before you criticize me.
Yeah.
It wasn't a hashtag, so you didn't pay attention to it.
Right.
But it's there. That's my work.
Yeah.
I've done that work. I'm now trying to understand, post-October 7th, a more nuanced portrait of why the State of Israel was founded, how that's connected to Judaism, and how it's inseparable from Judaism. And that's when I found all these other queer icons who were Zionist. And then I began to question that. Well, why were they Zionist? How did their Zionism affect their work? And a lot of times, like Larry Kramer, who founded ACT UP, he quoted Zionism, how the queer movement needed to be more like Zionists to protect ourselves and to establish our own self-identification. That, to me, is something that every queer person should know about when engaging on this issue. I am pro-Palestinian and I am pro-Israeli. Mm-hmm. It is possible to be both.
Sure. I'm
really glad to read your article in Aura and how you talk about this moment right now in being a liberal Jew and how that's being tested, because things are not so binary. Mm-mm. So in my inbox, it was just an inbox full of binary thinking,
right?
Not nuanced.
This team or that team.
It's the internet. It's not nuanced.
Right.
So that's a lot of it, was that. I had also gotten a lot of hate for posting my Hanukkah candles this year. So that's what made me post that. It came January 4th. I posted shortly after Hanukkah because 2 years ago, I got invited, October 8th, I was invited to an anti-Israel rally.
2023?
2023.
Okay.
By a trans person. I was up late. I had just moved to New York, so I was still redecorating. Mm-hmm. I was up really late. And I logged online and I saw the atrocities happen in real time. And I saw the unedited footage. And I couldn't believe that queer people were going to celebrate that. Like, it broke my spirit. So I posted something along the lines of, hey, I studied this for a year and still had no idea what I was talking about. So before you grab someone's flag, no, you probably don't know what you're talking about yet. And I was memed right away, Our Lady Apartheid. I had people dropping interviews. I was doing a show at the time in New York and, saying we can't associate ourselves with you anymore.
From that
post.
A tweet or whatever.
Yeah, with Instagram.
Instagram.
I'm not on Twitter. And it was a lot of young Jews were upset with me. And so I paused and I didn't want to make the situation worse. I didn't want to use my words or have my words used to make things worse. So I really waited 2 years. I didn't want to put anything out during the war either. I know enough about war to know that I know nothing about war. And I didn't want to fan any flames of fanaticism. So I really waited. Every once in a while, I would put out a story if I saw something. But then Hanukkah came, and I was lighting my candles. I was very inspired by Noah Tishby and her candle lighting.
Nice.
Love it. So I was lighting my candles in my camper van as I was heading east and I was traveling. And I got just an inbox full of piggy, piggy, oink, oink, money sign, red triangles. And so I thought, well, I'm damned if I do it. I'm damned if I don't. I haven't come out as being Jewish yet or even told many people in my personal life that my closest friends knew, but most people didn't know I was converting. I said, well, why not just put this out there? And a lot of the hate I got was not that dissimilar from the hate I got from Hanukkah candles.
Right. It's the same people.
Yeah.
If you're anything like me, and I'm assuming you are since you like my show, you probably care a lot about giving to causes that are important to you. But sometimes the logistics of charitable giving, when to give, how much to give, what the tax implications might be, can be overwhelming. Or you don't really think about it until suddenly it's the end of the year, you're filing your taxes, then you feel rushed to make a big decision before a deadline. But fear not, my friends, there's a solution, and it's called a donor-advised fund. And specifically, I want to tell you about the Jewish Communal Fund, or JCF. Here's how it works. You can contribute money or appreciated assets like stock and potentially maximize your tax benefits now, but then recommend grants to charities later when you're ready. So instead of scrambling at the end of the year, you can give more thoughtfully on your own timeline and support any IRS qualified charity that matters to you. And what I really like about JCF is that their team provides white glove support to help simplify the whole process, so your giving can be more strategic and more impactful. They also do something really meaningful. Every year, a portion of JCF's revenue goes towards grants that support the welfare and security of the Jewish people, both in the US and around the world. So if you want your giving to be less stressful and more intentional, it's definitely worth checking out. You can learn more or open your fund at jcfny.org. That's jcfny.org.
Let's go back to the conversion ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
Questions finished. Mikvah. What was the experience of going into the mikvah for you?
I didn't dunk down right the first time.
What is that? Because some hair was still on the surface?
There was some hair on the surface.
Yep.
And when you come up, the mikvah attendant says if it's...
you missed a hair.
Yeah, they say if it's kosher or not.
Right.
And they announce you have to lift yourself up so that you're not so buoyant and so that you go down, so that gravity really pulls you down. So there are 3 times that you immerse yourself and you say a prayer each time you come up. The practices are so old and you kind of get how they've been tried again and again. And how do we get here? And why 3 times? Why did that happen 3 times? And I realized the first attempt is oh, this is weird. Really weird and very awkward. I'm almost 6'2", and there's a relatively small pool that I'm in. The warmest, most delicious, creamy water I've ever been in.
Oh, that's nice.
So, I could have stayed in there for hours.
Okay.
It was amazing. It was at AJU, American Jewish University, at their mikveh.
Did you do the Miller Intro to Judaism program through them?
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I'm on the advisory board of that program.
Amazing, fabulous.
Shout out to AJU, to Jay Sanderson, who's been on this show, and Rabbi Tarlin, who's been on this show.
It's a really, really wonderful program.
Yeah.
A lot of people in my class weren't even considering converting.
Mm-hmm.
When I first started conversion classes 12 years ago when I was writing for Transparent. This is something I'm interested in, and I'll just do it for research as well for the show. So you can learn a lot about Judaism without wanting to convert.
Sure.
A lot of people in the class had found out that they were Jewish and that their families had hidden their Judaism. And so they were reconnecting with their Judaism post-October 7th. So it wasn't all about conversion.
Why did you initially begin looking into it while you were, as you said, writing on Transparent? Was it because of working on this Jewish show and it was just sort of in the water?
It was. I was curious, but also in the relationship metaphor, I had always casually dated Judaism. I dated a rabbi once, a rabbi in training. He was in divinity school. He was an amazing guy. I had just been around a lot of Jews and just loved Jews. My whole life, I didn't understand why I was so attracted to Jewish culture, Jewish ritual. I mean, I love musical comedy. That's the most Jewish thing ever.
Totally.
So naturally, I just was always around Jews from the age of 21 when I moved to New York. I'm 47 now. So it was a long time of being in the Jewish community and being Jewish adjacent. And by the time I got to Transparent, one of the reasons I was hired was I was able to just write Jewish voices very easily. I didn't understand what that meant. I didn't understand the Mount Sinai of it all, if you believe that.
It's because you were there with us.
We were all there together. Someone had joked that you are Jewish, girl. You're very Jewish. I didn't know what that meant. Let me go see what that means. And then I didn't realize converting was a thing that I could do. When I realized how similar it was to transitioning, it's like this thing that you intuit. Nobody's going to tell you. You got to do it on your own. You take it step by step. And if it's not right, you can stop. You can turn around and go back. So the stepping in and turning back for me, a lot of it had to do with the gender of it all. My first class at the time, 10 years ago, was about birth and death rituals. And how it was done based on sex assigned at birth. And I was like, nope, I had enough of that. I don't need that right now. A lot has changed in how they approach conversion classes now as well, that there is a lot of room for bar mitzvah and beit mitzvah, right? So a lot of Reform Judaism has made space for the trans experience. And even the way the classes were laid out, it was much less focused on the binary the second time around. So the binary gender of it all was a bit of a turnoff. And then the experience with BDS really moved me away from my Judaism. And it's one of the reasons I'm speaking about it, because I see young Jewish kids really struggling with this. And when I've talked to a few, they just want to feel accepted by their peers, as any young person does. Right. And I hate that there's something in the world right now that is taking people away from God and from their experience of being able to live the life that they feel called to live. And the thing that enriches us the most in our traditions. So that was a part of it as well. Just like Jonah and the whale.
Yeah.
I got pulled back.
What instigated the pullback?
I just can't stop loving Judaism.
So sweet.
I
can't quit you.
I can't quit.
We're talking a decade.
12 years.
12 years.
Yeah.
So was it off and on? Was it off for a really long time and then back in hard? What did those 12 years look like?
It was off for a while, leaning into atheism, leaning into agnosticism. I'm also sober. My sober journey started 25 years ago. So I needed to get more comfortable with just saying God. I couldn't say God for a long time. It felt like I was not being true to a part of myself by embracing something that was so homophobic in my childhood. So I had to really make peace with my demons, and I had to get a lot of it out of the way. And each time I cleared away, I got closer to Judaism. And eventually it was October 7th that I think a lot of us heard the call very loud and clear. Who is your tribe? We're in dark days. Who do I want around me when the world is at its darkest? what is going to lift me up.
It's interesting to hear you articulate that. I think for a lot of people, even for a lot of Jews, like the perspective is like, why would anyone come in this direction during this crazy time? Why aren't they running for the hills? But to hear you articulate it in such a way, it makes total sense that like when the chips are down, you want to be with the people that you feel safe and connected to. And so I love hearing that perspective. I have not heard that said that way before.
I think it's hard to avoid community whenever the world is attacking all of us on different fronts. It's not just Jews. It's not just queers who are feeling this. Like, it's a really scary time to be alive. And so who are the people you're calling to make yourself feel better? Who are the people that you're gravitating towards? And for me, it was my Jewish community. There had been some rifts in the LGBT community that had me puzzled. Why are we doing this? Why are we going in this direction? This used to be a movement of love. That's what marriage equality was all about, love. How did we move away from love? How did we get so far away from that? But my Jewish family maintained their roots in love. And that's what ultimately brought me back. I don't want to live in a world where I'm always fighting. That's also why I'm going back with the name Yona now. I don't want to have a name that is just trying to crap on religion or someone else's beliefs. I don't want to be in conflict. I'm almost 50. I'm really tired.
Yeah.
I've worked really hard in the queer community to make life better for trans people. And I need me time now for my spirit. And that's what Judaism has given me. When I started having these conversations after October 7th, it wasn't that I was necessarily drawn further and further into Judaism. I was pushed further and further away from my queer tribe. And that left Judaism for me. It was like, it had a shine to it and an invitation to it. Like, we haven't changed. We've been here a really long time. We can hold space for a lot of pain and a lot of suffering. And we can be a safe place to explore that pain and explore that suffering and understand how we can make the world a better place. That's what my studies became. Instead of going out and doing meetings about, a queer story, I started wanting to do meetings about Jewish stories and about like, how can we tell Jewish stories that uplift us as Jews? I can say us as Jews now.
Yeah.
Instead of the Jewish tribe.
Yeah.
How can we do that in a way that is not just, talking about the Holocaust?
Please.
Or just even talking about Israel? Like, what are the ways that we can really embrace Judaism and be the light that we are commanded to be?
Well, it's awesome to have another major Hollywood voice, rowing in that direction with us now. It's we need every single person. So it's huge.
Thank you.
So in Judaism, as I'm sure you know, like names carry so much meaning, and the changing of names is such a Jewish thing, and how each new name sort of represents this new part of your life. You keep saying that word struggle in this interview. My bar mitzvah portion was the portion where Jacob wrestles with the angel and changes his name to Israel.
Amazing.
I've always related a lot to that story also.
Was that intentional?
No, that was just the luck of the draw.
The week?
That was just the week.
Amazing.
I don't know. I just, that resonates with me a lot, that you've had these different names at these different parts of your life as you've gone through these transformations. It's very, literary. I mean, it's sort of like you could have crafted it on the page. It's just fascinating.
That's what writers we do craft our stories.
It's well done.
Thank you.
Why do you think the queer community has been uniquely susceptible to this propaganda, to being so quick to jump on this train?
We're in a lot of pain right now. We are being challenged in ways from politicians. The work that we've done is under threat. I think the intention is good for a lot of people to want to fight against that threat, and we should be. But right now, it feels like a bit of a bull in a china shop, that we are fighting our allies as well. we're all triggered right now. We're all really, really triggered. And when you're in that space and you are facing very real threats in the world, it's easy to hold on to anger. That's natural. I think we all do that. And it's a way of protecting ourselves. So I think the instinct is to protect ourselves. And that gets manipulated by political forces, political figures. So there are politicians out there right now who have built their entire careers on destroying the state of Israel. And then they offer a little trans healthcare here, come over here. And that looks very attractive.
If I could try to put some specifics to that, what I think I'm hearing you say is that the queer community feels threatened by MAGA.
Yes.
And then they see MAGA being supportive of Israel.
Yes.
And so they conflate the two and say, well, sort of, the friend of my enemy is my enemy.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly. It makes sense. I mean,
I guess. I mean, if that's all you understand of it, if you're going to see
it
very
as
shallow
that surface,
understanding.
yes,
right.
It's a very surface understanding.
Right.
Also, I found in my inbox when I got a lot of hate, a lot of people reaching out, thanking me.
Good.
Not young people. And that also has to do with colleges and what they've learned.
Sure.
But a lot of older people saying, thank you. I remember a community that was about love, and we need to get back there. And we need Jews on our side as we're doing it. Because if you look at Jewish history, we're going to be okay as Jews. We find a way.
Always.
I'm worried about the queer community not having Jews by our side. We need Jewish allies, and we cannot be pushing away allies at a time like this. We need all the help we can get.
I hope that message is heard loud and clear.
I hope so, too.
We're going to end our episode, as I like to do always, with a little game.
Amazing.
This one's called Extreme Baiting.
Ah, I love it.
Okay, I'm going to ask you some really esoteric Jewish halachic questions that I don't expect you to know the answer to, but maybe you will, and we'll see how it goes. What is Shmini Atzeret?
Can I pass on this whole segment?
No. So I've literally had to ask this question on this show multiple times because I always forget what Shmini Atzeret is. It is basically the 8th day of Sukkot, but it's its own distinct holiday, but no one's really sure why because no one really knows what Atzeret even really means.
Well, now I know.
Great.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad right now that after the final dip into the mikvah when I came out and said the Shema prayer, it was that I'm forever Jewish and this can't be taken from me.
No.
Because I feel like I might fail the
you
four
and
remaining
98% of the Jews on planet Earth. Name one bug that is technically considered kosher to eat.
I mean, is yeast considered a bug?
No. It's actually the grasshopper.
I didn't know that.
Me neither.
Why is it kosher?
I don't know. I didn't go that far in my research for this game. What fabric combination is halachically unwearable?
Most?
No, there's there's two specific fabrics that when you put them together, you're not allowed to do it.
Cotton wool?
You got one of them.
Wool is one.
The other is linen.
Oh.
Couldn't tell you why. It is a divine mystery. There are different interpretations as to why.
I'm allergic to wool, so
Easy for you.
I'm okay. And
Boom.
I'm pescatarian, so it's a lot easier to be kosher.
Wow. Okay. It's like all the stars are aligning for you. What is the minimum amount of matzah required to eat at a Seder?
I have no idea.
Kazait, like an olive.
Okay.
That's it. That's all you need. One little bite, you're good to go. What do you call the type of kosher wine that non-Jews are allowed to open and it still remains kosher?
The kosher wine that non-Jews are allowed to.
You're going to hear this word now. This one is probably the most answerable of this. It's called meshuval.
Meshuva.
It's a wine it's gross. They like flash boil it.
Okay.
And then that means that a non-Jew may open the bottle and it still remains kosher.
Right.
Which is pretty extreme to
I'm
me.
excited I get to open wine now.
Yeah,
I'm sober, but I'll
that's
open
right.
someone else's
You can
wine.
open someone else's. Look at that. Okay. True or false? You're allowed to lie to keep the peace.
False.
True?
True.
True. For like shalom bayit in your house, if it's going to tell a white lie and it's going to keep the peace, you're allowed to do it.
Okay.
How long do Dutch Jews wait between eating meat and milk?
I'm Pennsylvania Dutch.
So
I know
you're close.
nothing about the Dutch, and I really know nothing about the Dutch Jews.
I didn't know this. 72 minutes is the custom.
Okay.
Couldn't tell you why. Can you perform a bris on Shabbat?
No?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, it is one of the only exceptions to the Shabbat rule. Is if the bris is the 8th day, it's on Shabbat, you're allowed to do it.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm. You find hair in your soup at a kosher restaurant. Is the soup still kosher?
I would say yes.
Correct. It's just gross, but
It's
still
just
kosher.
disgusting.
And then we're gonna end on this one, which I think is actually is a beautiful lesson in there about Judaism. So that's why we're ending on it. You're called up to the Torah for an aliyah, and you realize mid-blessing you don't know the words. What are you supposed to do?
Feign blindness.
You're supposed to stumble through and just mess your way up as you get through it. It's better to continue trying and making mistakes than to abandon the Torah.
Amazing.
Which I think is a nice lesson.
I love
and that's
that.
why I want to end on that one.
That's beautiful.
Yona, thank you so much for being
Thank you,
here.
Jonah.
Thank you for
Such a
sharing
pleasure.
your story and this moment with us and being here on this very special morning. It certainly will not be something we repeat on this show, so thank you so
I
much.
feel so thrilled. I'm in hour 22 of being a Jew.
Unbelievable.
Not even a full day. Thank you.
Amazing. A huge thank you to Yona for joining us, and by us, I mean the Jews. She just grew our population by a not numerically insignificant amount, and for that I say Baruch Hashem. And please, if you haven't yet, please leave us a 5-star rating on Apple and Spotify so others can find and enjoy these conversations too. Toda Rabbah. All right, I'll see you right back here for the next transformative episode of Being Jewish with me, Jonah Platt.